Hello everyone, Brad Johnson here. In this video I'm going to be talking about fear, your greatest enemy or your greatest ally. Upon my whole spiritual journey, from before I was starting out this whole path, a lot of fear was definitely within myself. I felt that a lot of everything that I had to do within life was just about making other people happy. It wasn't so much about what I felt was important for myself, my own self-development, and my own self-path. And then when I awoke and moved into this spiritual journey, I discovered that it was all about the opposite. It was being able to begin to work together with the core of myself. There are still elements within my life that I personally feel very uncomfortable with. But what I have been able to develop is understanding and acceptance of what has happened. It is no longer contained within a state of denial. And this is where fear can actually become a great ally, rather than the idea of feeling that it can be an enemy. What am I talking about? Well, if we take a look at fear, what is it that causes fear to happen? It is the idea that we have become very, very complacent with the understanding of a certain event, a certain situation that has happened within our life, something that represents such an intensity that we have now assigned it instant value, a verification based upon this energy that could be bestowed from maybe a parent, from a teacher, from a best friend, from another family member, that's basically giving us an indication about how we have looked at ourselves. The idea of experiencing trauma, the feeling that we've had some really, really horrible experiences. We've seen people get really, really sick. We've seen people die. We've seen people move past this plane. We've seen, myself getting bankrupt, or I've seen me lose my job, or I've seen people commit suicide, etc. And this is all part of the fear. Now, what happens is that the fear really wants you to say, hey, this is the reaction that you had. You had this particular reaction relating to all of those traumas. What happened, right? All of this is coming together and basically sharing with you, this actually took place. But because it was such a trauma, it was such an emotionally intense situation, we cancel that out. And that fear is now creating itself as a blockage within our body. So now, this is how we get sick. This is how we have ailments. This is how we have diseases. This is how we have illnesses. It all comes from the point of saying that whatever happens, I just want to scrub that out. I don't want to look at that trauma anymore. It took me time to heal. Well, here's the thing. You haven't healed. It's taken you time to forget about it. That's not a healing process. So when a person says, I just need time to heal, I need time to take all this in, let it be something that is true healing. Admit to yourself that that trauma has happened. Live into that trauma, because this is where the fear is serving as an ally. Where it serves as an enemy is when we try to scrub it out of our life. It's where we try to take those photos of maybe ex-partners or somebody who's hurt us, and we just try and scratch it away and scratch their faces away. And I don't want to look at that person anymore. That was a horrible part of my life. I'm putting it behind me. Yes, you're putting it behind you because it's still following you. It's still on your tail. That's not giving yourself a state of healing. That is giving yourself additional pain where you're just kind of taking that energy and putting it behind a door, and you're just padlocking that door, and it says, do not enter, never talk about this again. It is an evil door. Fear is my enemy. I don't want to have anything to do with that. So as long as you continue to do that, and you have all these doors that, oh, don't you dare open that, don't you dare bring up that topic, it's too painful. The only reason it's painful is because you have neglected your pain. You have allowed that to carry with you throughout the beginning of this life, and in lifetimes after lifetimes after lifetimes. Why is it so important that, again, we need to look into our pain? Because it's the only way that we're going to heal from it. It's the only way we're going to understand that we have a divinity within ourselves. There is so much love that we have within our being. And I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a motorcycle, enthusiast, and you're wearing the big leather jacket, you're a big bulky fellow, and you're watching this, or if you're a punk rocker and you're watching this, or if you're a wonderful spiritual healer and you're watching this. Doesn't matter who you are. You have love within you. That's the true nature of what you are. You were all born as babies, and as babies we are the purity of innocence. That came through every single one of us. Doesn't matter if many of us consider it to be the most evil people in the world, the oligarchs, the opposers, etc. They were all babies. They were all newborns. They were all the purity of innocence coming into the world. It is the programming itself that they have created that has fueled the ego to move it into the state that it is, representing pain, representing neglect, representing trauma. A lot of this common replies I get is, well, Brad, you just don't know what kind of pain I've been through. You have no idea the kind of traumas I've experienced in this life. You have no idea what this has done to me. No, I don't know what this has done for you, but I see what it is doing to you now. That's it. I wasn't there 10 years ago when this happened. I wasn't there 20 years ago when this happened to you. But I can see exactly what the effects are doing to you now. So you have a choice to make. Are you going to open those doors up that you padlocked and take a look and give yourself the greatest form of inner courage to take a look at that fear and harmonize with it? Well, how do I harmonize with fear? Well, what a lot of us do is that when a topic that triggers our fear comes up, we create a defense shield. This is the impenetrable defensive shield that we put up. Oh my goodness, don't ever talk to me about like that again. Don't ever look at me like that again. It just reminds me of this and I don't want to talk about it, etc., etc. Our defenses come up. And this is where we are incapable of being able to heal. We just let that pain grab us by the arm and squeeze as hard as it can for us to feel that quick jolt of pain. And as soon as we do that, boom, defensive shield comes up, and there's no chance in heck that I'm going to drop these shields and actually embrace it, because that is the key. You have to look into your darkness. Your darkness is as much as yourself as the light is, and that's the key. Does it mean that you have to agree with what has happened in regards to that trauma? No, and who's going to agree with suicide? Who's going to agree who was being beaten as a child? Who's going to agree who was nearly starving in a foreign country? Who can agree with that, right? It's not about agreeing with it, but it's about acknowledging and accepting that this has happened to you. It is about acknowledging and accepting that this happens to the world. It's about acknowledging and accepting that everybody has a pain, because we are in a painful world. We are in a duality. We can certainly see a lot of brightness and beauty in the world because it certainly has it, and we can also discover pain if we're looking for it. But it's all about what we have personally experienced through our own childhoods, through our own younger years, moving into adulthood, and now we are the vessels of discernment. That's what it is to be an adult. You need to go inside yourself. You need to look at these areas that you've scrubbed out, that you've just, rubbed out of the way, and reopen those doors and say, the shields are down. I'm going to look at my fear, because now I am the purity of innocence. I am love. I will allow myself to go through these doors. I will open them up, and I will see what shadows are there. Because all we have done is we've taken this, representing the trauma, and we're just like grabbing a young child by the arm, putting them in a room, and slamming the door. I don't want to look at you. I don't want to have anything to do with you. You make me sick. It's horrible. I don't like who I am when I look at you. You're staying in this room forever, and I'm never opening the door. And then you padlock it, and then you say, do not enter. What you've done is you've taken an aspect of your own child, of your own inner child, and you've locked it in that room. And that room follows you wherever you go. If you're walking down the hallway, that door is right behind you, just walking with you. It's sliding across the wall, following you. You cannot avoid it. You cannot escape it. You cannot escape your pain. You cannot escape your fear. It does not matter where you feel you can go. It does not matter what you feel you can say. Oh no, that never happened to me. No, I never have those experiences. I had quite a pleasant childhood. Ha 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 ha. No, everybody has that type of pain, and I realized there was a lot of people who I've talked to have had some really really insane, intense levels of pain. It is understandable. It is understandable. Yes, we can have a lot of those particular forms that are very, very haunting to us. And again, life can be very, very ugly. It can be very grotesque. But again, it's all up to us to look at this pain and accept what has happened. Because as we accept what has happened in regards to the pain, we make it our ally, and now we are able to align to the state of solution. Now we're able to move into ourselves and saying, I have embraced my pain. I never liked what I was receiving. When I was a child, I had this happen to me and that happened to me, but I have embraced what has happened to me. I have accepted what has taken place, and that has made me stronger. There is no strength at all when you bottle your pain, when you bottle your fear. When your fear is bottled and again slammed through that door and never to be opened, this creates an imbalance. This represents the idea of you ripping out parts of your shards of your soul and placing it behind those doors. The only way that we're going to work together in developing a solution to our fear is through ourselves, is through that self-love. It does take courage. It takes a lot of strength. I've talked to addicts. I've talked to people who are borderline suicidal. I've talked to people who have had abductions with the beings known as the Greys. I've talked to all kinds of people from all walks of life, from all over the world, with all kinds of intense, insane types of traumas. And when I look at my own life and I look at my own childhood, I thought it was pretty bad. And I look at a lot of these intense traumas with what people have. I understand. I empathize with that situation, absolutely. But again, it's not a competition. It's not a feeling that, well, my pain is worse than your pain, so I deserve to suffer and you don't, ha ha ha, right? It's not about that. We're not doing a contest here, we're not doing a competition. It's being able to look at your fear and just realize it's happened. Accept it. When I was younger, the same thing happened with me, is that when I was younger, I used to get attacked by my dad. I used to get yelled at. I used to get shouted. I was part of a religion, the Jehovah's Witnesses, up until I was a teenager because I couldn't stand it. And I admitted all these things. There's just a lot of things, a lot of personal pain that we all carry. And as long as we ourselves can look into that and accept that this has happened, realize that this has taken place, then we can move on. We can move further and we can heal this. This is the true healing. The true healing comes when you are able to embrace your fear. Acknowledge that it has happened. Let it communicate with you. Let it talk to you. You have slammed me into that door for many, many years because of a trauma that happened to you. Are you ready now to accept that trauma has happened and ready to bring myself back into your light, to come back into one whole being? Now you have to ask your question. Why did you slam that fear away? Because it was just so terrible to look at. But you observed it. This was you. This was your perspective. This was your timeline. Can you forgive yourself? And can you forgive the elements relating to that fear to bring it back into yourself in harmony? That's the question you have to ask yourself, because nobody else is going to do it for you. You have to acknowledge that it has happened. You have to forgive yourself and the elements contained within that situation. You are then able to achieve liberation once that takes place. Fear can be, again, some of the most darkest depths of corners of reality that we can ever see. But it's only there because we have made it into darkness. We make our own demons. We make our own traumas. We make our own intense situations that are so horrifying that we have to throw it in a box or we have to keep it behind a door that says, do not enter and do not open for any reason. Those are our monsters. Those are the demons that we create. But we're the one perceiving it as demons. From another person's perspective, it's just looking at a lost child. It's like looking at a child that's just cringed up in a corner and saying, my parent doesn't love me. My parent feels that I'm an accident, feels that I don't deserve to live, and so I'm kept in this room. And that's the whole key. They're kept in the basement of your life. And don't you dare go down to the basement, right? That's all part of the defensive shields. So we are working upon ourselves to lower these shields, because the whole key of why we have these shields up in the first place is because of our identity, is because of our personality. We still attach ourselves so greatly to the personality and to the identity that if we dare have something like this, of a skeleton in the closet situation, well, we're done. We're seen as just, no one's going to be able to look at us the same way. And, this is what's happened to me in my past. You're not alone. There are so many people that have had this insane trauma and have come into states of liberation because they were able to face it. Doesn't mean you have to agree with it. Once again, it's about being able to look at it. I don't agree that this has happened, but I accept that it's taken place. And that has made me stronger, because now it has given me a wonderful lesson. Fear has served me as an ally, because it's telling me exactly the traumas that I've faced that help me to choose better. The traumas that I've faced to help me understand how I can choose a life of love, because I've been through the traumas, I've been through the dark depths of life, and I've no longer decided to continue to follow that by dragging the weights of these fears behind me like a tail. Those are done. I'm accepting that's happened, and now I'm taking steps to move into the light, because it's all those things that have made me who I am here and now, and that I'm moving more into more beautiful love situations than I can ever possibly imagine. That's actually my own truth, being shared right now. I used to drag a lot of those fears around just like a tail. And being able to now look at them and admit that those have happened and accept that through myself, and being able to choose a higher light. I still get, very, very sad when I look at people, who I'm doing healings with, who I'm doing readings, and they tell me all of their traumas. It's not like, oh, Brad's completely unaffected by it. No, I am quite affected by it. It does make me sad when I hear a lot of these stories that people tell me about the traumas they've had, getting beaten as a kid, or, having these insidious abductions happen to them. The healing that they require, because this is the pile of ailments that they have on top of themselves. It makes me sad. It almost just, wants me to rip my heart out and say, oh my goodness, this person, what has happened to them, right? That happens. You're not immune to that. And so, again, it's all about me reminding myself, because I have had elements of that, maybe not exactly to that level, but it all just ties back to my personal pain and my personal fear. And as long as we're able to look into our fears and accept that, then we gain strength in saying, I understand. I completely acknowledge what you're saying to me. I realize what you have told me about what you have been going through. So what can we do together right now to resolve this? What can I do as a helper, as someone who is of service, to assist you further? And that's, again, why I love doing what I do, because I help people along the way, because it's just a mirror reflection about how I've helped me and being able to radiate that light out, and I owe it all to accepting my fear, to making fear my ally. That is what has made me stronger, and that is what is making so many people who I'm talking to stronger. They finally said, I'm going to have the courage, I'm taking the chains off those doors, and I'm looking into my pain. I'm looking into those shadows. I'm looking into those lost children that I threw into the room because the trauma was too intense at that time. Now I'm ready. Now I can move into those alignments, and I can make this happen. And now, love is all that is. I am now part of a stronger connection to the reality body. I'm now moving more into the rainbow wise, because now I've looked into my fear, I've looked into my darkness, I'm moving more into positivity, I'm utilizing positive reinforcement, and now I feel like reality is communicating with me so much stronger, because I was able to embrace my fear, and I was able to accept it for what it is. So let this be a form of reminder to you. If you have fears that you're still experiencing, they're not going to go away until you decide to have that beautiful inner courage within yourself. Open those doors and realize that those fears are just looking to be embraced, to be acknowledged of knowing that they happened. And it takes a very, very brave soul to do that. As Adronis says, a lot of the people on planet Earth are some of the most bravest souls of all. So, are you ready to be a brave soul? Are you ready to move into those doors that you have sealed, and looking into your fear, and looking at fear as an ally to helping you resolute yourself and move yourself into an alignment of love beyond your imagination. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Brad Johnson. If you have any other questions relating to this topic or any other topics contained in videos that I've done on my channel, please feel free to contact me, info@consciousmatrix.com. Take care, namaste, and may it be well with you. Goodbye.